Welcome back. You're still watching The World Today on Channels Television. Now, as the search for the Malaysia flight MH370 continues and has entered its 7th month, the team looking for it has released new detailed images of the seabed, revealing features such as extinct volcanoes and 1,400-meter depressions for the first time. The collection of data from one of the most secret parts of the world is a byproduct of the search. Until now, were better maps of Mars than this bit of the seafloor. The Malaysian Airlines plane vanished without a trace on the 8th of March with 239 people on board. 26 countries have helped look for the Boeing 777, but nothing has ever been found. The aircraft was flying from the Malaysian capital Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. In other news, the European Energy Commissioner has confirmed that Russia and Ukraine had found an acceptable solution to their long-running gas dispute. The European Union proposed a gas deal between Kiev and Moscow that would guarantee Ukraine at least 5 billion cubic meters of gas for the next 6 months.
Talks aimed at resolving a gas dispute between Moscow and Kiev began in Germany today as the EU Commissioner received Russian Energy Minister Alexander Novak. The European Commission aims to propose an interim solution to the gas row between Russia and Ukraine at talks it is brokering in Berlin to avert a winter gas supply crisis. A deal could involve a one-off purchase from Russian state-controlled energy giant Gazprom. Novak's Ukrainian counterpart, Energy Minister Yuri Prodan, is also expected to participate in the trilateral meeting. Russia cut off gas supplies to Ukraine in June because of a row over Ukraine's unpaid gas bill. Outinga has brokered a series of talks between the two sides. Meanwhile, in eastern Ukraine, after months of daily shelling, an uneasy calm has returned to the town of Ilovaisk, east of Donetsk. The streets of the town remain quiet, but some locals have ventured out to inspect damaged buildings and destroyed vehicles in the area. Natalia Nikolieva, a pensioner, says many people were struggling financially after months of fighting in the region and that she hoped Russia would support the people of Ilovaisk. Kiev and Western governments say it was direct Russian military intervention that tipped the battlefield balance in favor of rebels in eastern Ukraine and forced Poroshenko to call a ceasefire on September 5 after big losses by government forces. Russia, which opposes the pro-Western course of leadership in its fellow ex-Soviet republic, denies its troops have taken part in the war or provided arms to the rebels, despite what Western governments and Kiev say is incontrovertible proof. Poroshenko's peace plan envisages local elections in separatist-held areas in December under Kiev's supervision, though the rebels say they want no part of anything organized from Kiev.
In other news, the North Korean leader Kim Jong-Un might have fallen ill. A suspicion was raised after he failed to appear on a key political event. A report on state television said the 31-year-old leader was in an uncomfortable physical condition but gave no details. But he's believed to be suffering from a leg injury as he's been seen limping at some points. Earlier on, the leader was absent from a session of the Supreme People's Assembly, and that's North Korea's legislature. Mr. Kim has not been seen in public for more than 3 weeks now. The report on state-run Central Television later in the day showed footage of the leader limping during one of his regular inspection tours back in July. Kim made his last public appearance on the 3rd of September when he attended a concert given by the Moranbong Band. That's an all-girl music troupe reputedly handpicked by the leader himself. Well, we wish him quick recovery, but now we shift our attention to Africa. Aid agencies are warning that Somalia is facing a growing hunger crisis 3 years after the country's devastating 2011 famine. The United Nations has confirmed that more than 1 million people in the Horn of Africa are struggling to meet the daily nutritional needs. The roughly 130,000 people displaced from their homes this year alone are bearing the brunt of the crisis. Dollar Town in Gedo region of South Somalia is hosting approximately 20,000 internally displaced people. The farmers no longer have access to their land for cultivation. A recent offensive against Islamist militants by African peacekeepers and Somali troops has also pushed thousands of people out of their homes. The exodus of people from their homes and poor rainfall is pushing Somalia towards a new crisis, hurting the government's bid to establish order after 2 decades of chaos and conflict. It also highlights the challenges facing the 22,000-strong African Union peacekeeping force and the Somali army, which has driven al-Shabaab rebels from more towns but struggled to protect supply lines from the guerrilla attacks. So markets are left bare and people have little choice but to leave. Many retaken towns become isolated, and so food prices often double.
There's been a bad harvest. There's not enough water for livestock, which means they have to migrate far. And there are also military operations ongoing, which has caused displacement. Now, when people displace, it means they cannot grow, they cannot cultivate when they're displaced, and they need assistance at that time. But also, the supply to the markets has been disrupted. So the traders are not able to bring food into some of these areas, and that has put even more pressure. It means the prices have increased sometimes twofold, and people are really not able to meet their food needs in that situation.
In August, the UN Humanitarian Coordinator for Somalia said rapidly rising malnutrition and food shortages across the country resemble the warning signs that preceded the 2011 famine, in which about 260,000 people died.
We migrated from Bakul because of al-Shabaab and famine. If the current conditions continue deteriorating, then it will be worse than the last one.
An estimated 1 in 7 children under the age of 5 are acutely malnourished. More than 2.1 million more people are vulnerable. Many mothers bring their sick and malnourished children to treatment centers like these in hopes they will find help. With conflicts raging in South Sudan, Syria and Iraq, and the Ebola crisis in West Africa, aid budgets are stretched. The UN appeal for Somalia has raised just 32% of the $933 million it needs in 2014. Now to some good news concerning the Ebola virus disease. The third U.S. patient to be treated in the United States for the Ebola virus is now free. Doctors in Nebraska Medical Center and the patient disclosed that during a news conference which took place yesterday. The 51-year-old Dr. Rick Sakra, a Boston obstetrician who contracted Ebola while treating patients as a medical missionary at a hospital in Liberia, told the Conference for Centers for Disease that he's been declared safe and free from the virus.
God has used you to restore my life to me. I am so